Welcome, everyone. I am excited to be here today. Today is Thursday, July 31st, and I am about to dive into a topic that I hold near and dear, and it's all about how to raise money savvy kids. So come on in. We're just kicking off, we're just getting started. And feel free to go ahead and like and share this to other parents that you may know, parents um, of school age kids. I don't care if they're 3 year olds, 8 year olds, 12 year olds, however old they are. If they have 18 year olds, this is for them. We will have something special for them. So today is all about how to raise money savvy kids. And this is a topic that I speak about a lot, right? I speak often to parents across the nation on this very topic. And last week, I spoke to a youth basketball group, right? To their parents specifically, with all the traveling and things that people do with kids' sports. And we are so focused on making sure that they have some of these social skills, making sure that they are practicing their athletics. One of the things we absolutely have to do is make sure that we are also teaching them life skills. And that's where this comes in, because money management is a life skill. Okay. It's one of those things that, when we help our kids understand it, it can set them up for for them to have a solid financial foundation. But if we skim over it, if we overlook it, if we don't give our kids any guidance at all, then it will literally set them up for a life of struggle, and we do not want that. All right, so we're going to jump right in. And typically, I like to know where people are from. So I'm going to just post in here so you can answer this question as people are getting settled. But where are you logging in from? Where are you joining me from? And you can answer that question in the chat. Where are you joining me from? And then I also want to know, how old are your students, right? How old are your kids? So, how old are your kids? And then that way, when I know where you're from, when I know how old your students and kids are, then I can really dive into those examples and dive into practical ways that you all can start talking to your kids at whatever age, right? So go ahead. Oh, good to see you, Tim. Locust Grove, you got a 12-year-old. Excellent. I love to see it. And feel free to share this out. And the reason I ask this is because a lot of times as parents, we are so focused on what are the things we want for our kids. I just want to pause for a minute and ask you, as an adult, right? At your age, at your big grown age, what do you wish you learned about money as a kid? And go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. What do you wish someone had taught you about money or money management as a child? So go ahead and let me know that in the chat. And I'm getting some questions on another social platform, and I just need to let them know we are here on YouTube. So come on over and join us. All right, so what do you wish you learned about money? And the reason I'm asking this is because there are so many statistics, which I'm actually going to share with you shortly, that speak to the things that parents wish they knew. And during our time together, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to be sharing with you what are the things I'm going to help prepare you for money conversations with your child, right? So how do you start money conversations? How do you pour all the things that you know to make sure that they know it? I'm going to give you some practical tips on things that you can start doing. Again, whether they are 12, whether they are 8, whether they are 18, what are some things that you can do and some practical money habits that you can start practicing with your kids? And then more importantly, how do you make this part of your everyday life, right? It is so, so important. And so, Tim, thank you for responding and saying savings accounts are not the way. Be the boss and not the work. Multiple streams of income, insurance, yes, all the things. Because at our age, our kids are being hit with so much information, and some of it is misinformation, but information nonetheless. And we just want to make sure that they are getting accurate information. And here's the truth: the truth is you are your child's first financial advisor. You are going to be your child's first, money manager. And if you don't own that role, if you don't take that role on, guess who's going to fill the gap? I'm going to tell you who's going to fill the gap. Their friends, their peers, social media, what they watch on TV, who they idolize and follow, and who they are fans of, across movie screens and TV shows and real life and concert stages. Those are going to become the people that they follow and watch closely and take advice from. And so, in order to make sure that you are that person, you are the sole, initial point of guidance, we have to talk about it. And so, why is it important for you as parents to stir up this financial awakening in your child? Why is it important? Yes, why is it important for you? Somebody just wants to share with me why this topic is so important. Let me know in the chat why this topic is important for you, like why you are showing up, why you are even interested in this. Because when I talk to parents, a lot of um, the reason why they want to talk to their kids is because they want their kids to live a better life, right? They want their kids to be able to reach a certain level of financial status far ahead of when they were able to achieve it. And sadly enough, often our kids don't achieve things just because they didn't know. It's just a lack of education. So if this is your first time interacting with me, your first time learning about me, let me formally introduce myself. My name is Holly Reid and I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a CPA by trade and also a certified financial education instructor. And a couple of years ago, I wrote this book, Teach Your Child to Fish: 5 Money Habits Every Child Should Master. And this book is targeted to parents. It's targeted to families just like you and I'm giving you the playbook on what you should be talking to your kids about before they actually leave your nest, before they are actually out on your own. And I break it down into these 5 foundational money habits that your child should absolutely practice and master while you are still their safety net. And because of this book, I have been able to do a lot of speaking, create curriculum where we host money camps for kids and teens throughout the year. We work and partner with different schools and different organizations just to make sure that financial literacy is prioritized and that we are planting the seeds early and often with our young people. And so the way that I got into this space, oddly enough, is just because of my own money experiences. And so I'm just going to take you through my journey with this picture collage. So the very first picture, you'll see me sitting in my mom's lap in that little blue dress. And one of the things my parents did as parents of 4 young ladies, one of the things they did, they tried to teach us everything that they thought we needed to know in order to be successful in life, right? And so my dad specifically would give me and my sisters a lot of advice. He'd be like, Holly, you don't need to spend your money here. Holly, don't do this with your money. Holly, you need to save more of your money. And while he gave lots of great advice, one of the things that was missing from my parents' advice often was the why and the how, right? Not just because I'm telling you to as a parent, but why is this important? Why should I care? And then more importantly, how should I do it? So we grew up in a middle class family, but we didn't have a lot of discretionary income for my parents to give us an allowance. So I didn't get a lot of practice with money as a child. And so what happens is they set their expectations for us. And I'll tell you the truth, by the time I was 23, I had pretty much met the goals and the expectations that my parents had set. I graduated from college. I went to North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I started working for one of the biggest public accounting firms in the nation. I bought a house, which was big, like one of the big things my dad always wanted to see us do, to move from his house, from our family home, into our own homes. And so when I started working, um, I started, being more and more influenced by the things I saw from my working experiences. And in the work that I was doing, I was traveling quite a bit. So I was traveling, staying in nice hotels, eating out quite a bit. And so I started treating my money, right? The money that I was earning, exactly how our America wants us to treat it, right? Our America wants us to spend above our means, to not save a dime, right? To to enjoy the fruits of our earnings now, to not think about tomorrow. And so I was doing just that, right? And in the process, I was racking up credit card debt. I had an auto loan. I was still paying on my student loans. And unfortunately, I was working during a time where the dot-com bubble burst. And what that simply means is the economy started to tank. And the public accounting firm I started working for started laying people off. And guess who got laid off? Me. Little old me, Miss Epitome of Success. And I wasn't prepared. I felt shame that I, had not taken some of the early advice that my parents had told me about saving my money, because I was living life. I was just enjoying it, not thinking about my future self and, what could negatively happen in the future. And so that was kind of my first taste of free falling, my first free fall. So me going skydiving is a perfect illustration of me going on a free fall in my financial life. And so what I decided in that time is this would never happen to me again, right? So I started reading everything I could, um, you know, taking the advice of all the gurus. Back then, the gurus were Susie Orman, it was Dave Ramsey. I was putting all of these things into practice, figuring out what worked for me. And then I basically was able to claw my way out of over $30,000 in debt. And that was me getting back on my bike, right? Once I got out of debt, with the exception of my mortgage, I started preaching the debt free gospel. I wanted everyone I knew and everyone I didn't know to experience what it felt like on the other side of credit card debt, to know what it felt like on the other side of student loans, on the other side of an auto loan, when you don't owe anyone except my mortgage. I still pay on my mortgage. When you don't owe anyone, it is a level of freedom that I wanted everyone to experience. So fast forward today, I'm married to a wonderful man, Gene Tootle, and I have a handsome bonus son. And now that he is out on his own doing his thing, it's all about building a legacy. And so this top picture in the at the top is with me and my nieces and nephews, where we're giving them a tour of my alma mater, North Carolina A&T. And so when I say building a legacy, it's not just about building a legacy for my family and for those coming behind me, but it's also about building a legacy for your family, right? So that is why the Master Playbook exists. We are here to equip the next generation, your kids, your family, right? To master money and to empower parents and families just like you to give your kids a financial head start where we are all setting each other up for financial stability, security, and success, right? There's no reason with all the things that we have access to today that anybody should be living a life of struggle. We just have access to too much, too many resources, and so much knowledge that really all it costs us is time, right? It costs us time, patience, and consistency in order to build the wealth and the things that we'll need for our family. So I just want to kick it off and show you guys a few of the statistics, right? And so this is almost like a state of the union slide where I'm sharing what are all the statistics saying about us currently, where we are in the US when it comes to financial literacy. And one of the things that I want to point out is just 59% of parents are uncomfortable speaking with their kids about money. 83% of parents wish they learned more about money as a child, right? And I can attest to that. 74% of our teens don't feel confident in their financial education, right? They don't feel confident when it comes to financial literacy and financial education topics. And I want to change these things, okay? And so for too long, financial illiteracy, people who are not managing their money well, it's been a stereotype, right? That it only impacts one group of people. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. Financial illiteracy affects everyone. I don't care if you are white, Black, Hispanic. If you don't know and if you have not been taught how to manage your money, that carries on for a very long time. So we can't continue to ignore the problem. Now is the time for us to jump in and make sure that we are equipping our kids, giving our families the blueprint for them to follow for years and generations beyond our lifetime. All right. And so that's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to talk to you about how to raise money savvy kids because financial education is just one piece of the puzzle. You can know everything, right? You can have all the knowledge and still struggle, right? But our goal is first, let's teach you what you need to know. And then we're going to hold one another accountable to put the things in place in order to get us there, right? In order to make sure that we are all building this solid financial foundation. And so the 5 money habits that I'm going to briefly touch on this evening is work smart and be rewarded, save first and consistently, spend wisely and consciously, use credit responsibly, and give generously. All right. And so the very first one, just work smart and be rewarded. This is all about making sure that our kids understand the relationship between working smart and the reward on the other end. And so as we are taking care of and rearing our kids, and I hate that this slide is looking messed up now that I see it on this platform. One of the first things we have to encourage our kids and get our kids, wrapped up into is that they must be contributing members of the family first, right? And so the rewards of being a contributing member of their family could be an allowance if you have the disposable income, but it also could look like more screen time, treats, hanging out with their friends, right? But there should be something that your child is responsible for completing or doing in the household that when they complete it, it helps the whole household run just a little bit smoother. And all I'm talking about, parents, are chores, right? So oftentimes we may give our kids an allowance just to give them allowance, but there's no consequence if they don't complete the job that we are asking them to do, right? So make sure your kids have some responsibility early on in life. And this even works with 4-year-olds, right? Somebody is like, what kind of chores can I give my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old? Every time you do your laundry, guess what they can help you do? They can help pair the socks and put them away, right? They can help. They can help you complete tasks with your guidance, of course. The second thing that I want you to help your kids understand is the relationship between the work that they do as a student and the reward that comes from that, right? So we want to encourage our kids to be the best students they can be. And then on the other side of that, their rewards are they get great grades. The grades allow them to earn scholarships, right? The grades also allow them to participate in extracurricular activities. So that there's a reason why we call our kids student athletes, because they are students first before they are the star quarterback or the best gymnast, or participating on the 4x1 for their school, right? And then finally, we want to talk to our kids about working. And that's whether it's working inside the home or, working outside the home, working with you. I have a lot of parents who are entrepreneurs who have their own business or creating their own business, right? And so the rewards of that are more than just a paycheck, but they learn new skills. They learn how to deal with different personalities. They learn, how to manage conflict. But there's so much more, than just earning the money. But the money is important too, right? So one of the things that I see often with our parents is that we don't talk about entrepreneurship enough. We have so many kids who have great ideas. They see things through that innocent lens, and we should just start asking them, hey, what are the problems you want to solve in this world? Like, based off of what you see every day, based off of your experiences, are there any problems you want to solve or any specific things you want to be a part of? And that could spark a whole conversation around, what kind of business they could start, what kind of industries they should learn more about, right? And so on the screen, I'm just giving two examples of two young people who, because of their parents' influence, listen to me, parents, because of their parents' influence, and more importantly, their parents' long-term support, they have gone on to build some businesses. So the first one is Miss Hannah Grace, started a bath bomb business because she was going to a beauty store to buy a bath bomb. Once her dad saw what they were, he was like, Hannah, I bet you can make these. And actually, I'm going to challenge you to do that, right? So we're not going to buy them today, but I want you to try to make these for yourself. She did. She started her e-commerce business selling bath bombs. If you've ever heard this story of Mosiah Bridges, he's based out of Memphis, Tennessee. His grandmother had all this fabric that she just held on to, right? And I tease and I call it hoarding, because that's what it looked like to me. But I think she started making the bow ties. She taught him how to make the bow ties. Whenever he would wear the bow ties through all this extra fabric that his grandmother just had in the house, he would get so many compliments that he and his mom said, you know what, maybe we should start making these for other people. They did, and they've grown that business so much they were able to get a licensing deal with the National Basketball Association, right? And so you can go on Instagram today. You can find both of these sites alive and well. But these are just two examples, right? Our kids are so brilliant. They are so smart. They are so tech savvy. It is unlimited on the business ideas that they could potentially pursue. And all they might need is a little support, a little push from you to get them going, right? So I encourage this strongly. And when we talk about working smart and being rewarded, because they can learn so much about money, how to manage money wisely, just from running their own businesses. All right. So money habit number 2 is, and if you have questions about these as I'm going through them, feel free, you can drop them in the chat. We are going to have some time at the end to go through any questions that you may have. And I'm also going to tell you about what's coming up next towards the end. All right. So our next money habit in raising money smart kids, it's all about teaching them how to save their money. Now, let me tell you, saving money is probably one of the most difficult money habits to master. And it's because it requires patience, right? It requires that them to practice delayed gratification. And when we live in a society where you can literally make 2 or 3 taps on a phone and you and the package arrives the next day, or you make press 3 buttons on your phone and food shows up at your house in 15 minutes, then it can be really difficult for our kids to wrap their heads around having to wait for something that they want. All right. And so that's all savings is. Saving is all about time, right? Doing something consistently and giving it time to grow. And so, one of the things that you really want to start with when it comes to talking about saving with your kids, talk to them first about what are some things that they want for themselves. What are some reasons that they may want to save their money? And so, depending on their age, depending on kind of where they are in life, it could be as simple as they want to save their money to buy to buy a toy, to buy a PS2, to buy their favorite pair of sneakers, to travel, to go on a trip somewhere, to depending on your child's personality. I have so many kids, I ask them what they want to save for, and they want to save in order to give to others, right? And so just depending on where they are, but we first have to start asking them the question, what's something you really want to save for? And then help them practice that money habit. Okay. And so here are 3 examples. So at a very young age, I'm talking about elementary school age kids, 5th grade and under. One of the things you can start doing, or even younger, is start coin collecting. You're like, coin collecting? And I'm like, yeah. So think about it. Every state has a quarter, right? Has its own minted, specially designed quarter. And even if you go on Amazon, they sell these maps where you can buy the maps that fit the minted quarters for each state. And that's a fun way, it's a fun activity for them to practice gathering coins, right? Looking for the coins for each state, but not immediately spending the money. Instead, they're collecting it, right? They're putting it on the map, they're filling up the map. And when the map is filled, guess what you can do? You can start over, or you can move on to the next project, right? But it's teaching them how to save the money, right? So one of the things you could do with coin collecting, once they've saved or reached the milestone or reached the mark, you can then use that to open up a savings account. And so if you haven't opened up a savings account for your child just yet, that's okay. It's not too late. What I like to do is I want parents to make it a really big deal, almost like a big deal of becoming a teenager when you're changing from preteen to teen, when you're finally turning 13. Like, go all out and make it almost like a rites of passage, explaining to them, now that you're getting older, now that you're a teenager, now you have more responsibility. Now you need to learn about money. We want to make sure you understand how money works, how money grows, and going down in person with them to open up that savings account and making that deposit, allowing them to be a part of that experience. And then every month going online, looking at how much have you been able to deposit, looking at the interest that makes your money grow, just so that they can kind of get familiar with the banking system, reading bank statements, what different things mean. There's a lot in here that you can actually do with your kids at this stage. And then finally, when they become teenagers, listen, you got to start thinking of creative ways. And one of the creative ways with teenagers is they start asking for things, but it's things that they are really interested in, right? Or things they think they're interested in, whether it's a car, whether it's becoming an influencer or, getting a job or whatever. But one of the things you want to do, the strategies with teaching your teens about savings, is they need to have some skin in the game. All right. They need to have some skin in the game. So whatever it is they're saving for, it could be senior dues. It could be, you know, uh, helping them, making them make a budget around their prom expenses, or something. Again, it has to be tied to something that they care about, or else they're just going to dismiss it. But once you find what that thing is for your child, you want them to have some skin in the game, and you make a deal and you say, hey, if you save 70% of that cost, I'll help you with the other 30%. Or you save 50, I'll help you with the other 50. Whatever you decide to do, but they have to have some skin in the game. All right. All right. So any questions on savings, feel free to drop it in the chat. But those are just some quick ideas. So far, we've talked about working hard, working smart, and being rewarded. We talked about saving first and consistently. And then we're going to touch on these next 3 money habits. And this one is spend wisely and consciously. All right. Spending wisely and consciously. And I bring this up because companies basically spend millions of dollars trying to get us to become, consumers, right? So there's a lot of marketing that our kids are ambushed with, whether it's on social media, whether it's on TV. You can't even go to a movie these days without them opening it up with a commercial, right? And then even within the movie, they're doing product placements, sending all kind of subliminal messages around, what's cool, what people should wear, what people should be driving, right? And our kids are paying attention, and it's all soaking in, but it's doing so at such an unconscious state. They don't know why they have to have this brand, right? And it's because these are the companies that are spending the most trying to influence them and encourage them to become customers, loyal customers. And they do such a good job that oftentimes the line becomes blurred between what's really a need and what's a want. It can become very blurry, even for us as adults, right? Because all the advertising, all the messaging, whether it's a luxury item or not, they are going to give you all the reasons why you need this right now, why this is so important and can't wait. But we have to make sure our kids understand the difference between needs versus wants, and that they prioritize needs versus wants when it comes to managing their money. And you might say, well, Holly, why is this important? It's important because when you are bombarded with marketing messages, when you are bombarded with your favorite celebrity wearing your favorite pair of jeans, or your favorite athlete wearing a certain kind of shoe, it absolutely influences how you spend your money. And oftentimes the brands, of course, are going to be more expensive than the generic or than the other brand, right? And so oftentimes our kids are they're being taught and trained to look for that brand and spend for that and disregard everything else. And they could be losing a lot of money. So these are a few ways that you can start practically talking to your kids about spending their money wisely, spending their money consciously, where they are making decisions not based off of what's on sale, but or based off of the celebrity's image that's next to the item, but really based off, do I need this item? How much is it? Can I afford it? So you can start playing store in the house, right? And this would have been a great idea if your kids haven't started school back. It might here you can still do this one, right? So one of the play store ideas is you have your snacks for your kids. If you go to Costco or Sam's or wherever where you rack up on snacks, of course your kids automatically want to go to the sweet treats, right? The stuff that might not be as healthy or as good for them. And what I say is put imaginary prices You can use stickers, you can write it out on a index card or whatever, but you're going to start pricing the snacks. And on the snacks, you're going to say, the healthy snacks, those are the ones that are going to cost the less. The fruit, that's going to cost the less, or the least. And then all the famous Amos cookies and Takis and all the real good stuff, the Rice Krispie treats, you're gonna price those a little bit higher. And it doesn't have to be real money, but they earn money based off of the chores and the tasks that they complete around the house or outside the house, depending on how you have it set up for your home. And then they can use that play money to buy the snacks that they want and that they desire. And so we're teaching them that what I'm trying to teach them is, you'll have enough to get the healthy stuff, which is better fuel for your body. But people really work hard for those things that they want, right? So the Takis and all the unhealthy things. So those are just some ideas. If you have older kids, because that might not work with the older kids. With the older kids, I would suggest giving them a small portion of the household budget that they can manage. I got this idea from one of our money camp for teen participants, where the mom gave her daughter the family's entertainment budget for the weekend. So they had a set entertainment budget for the family for the weekend. And she gave her teenage daughter the responsibility of figuring out how they were going to spend it. And she had to get input from everybody in the family. So are you going to stay at home and watch the movie, or are we going to go out? And made her go and do the price comparisons. If they're going to go take a trip, if they're going to take a quick drive, if they're going to go out to downtown, whatever, but made her figure it out and made her make it work based off of the dollar amount. And so I thought that was a really cool and effective way to get your teenager involved, and for them to really see how much stuff costs. I think that's one of the biggest things is our kids are missing how much things really cost. All right. So spend wisely and consciously. The fourth money habit is to use credit responsibly. Using credit responsibly. Okay. And it's because we are now in this digital age where people rarely use cash, right? So most of our transactions are going to be using some kind of electronic form of payment. And so my question to you guys is, do your kids even know what the difference between a debit card and a credit card is? I talked about this week. You can go on my YouTube channel after we wrap up here today. I'm doing a 5-day college countdown to college money series for all my parents who are getting ready to take their kids to college for the first time in the fall, or for those who are returning, right? This using credit is a hot topic, and it's because this is one of the areas where our kids, when they're old enough and they're out on their own making independent money choices, this is where they start making some of their first major money mistakes. And so it starts with this, like at a young age, we start gifting our kids gift cards, right? That's great. Gift cards, I think, are a great learning tool, but gift cards are also just credit cards with training wheels, right? And so as they get older, then they get introduced to debit cards, then they get introduced to credit cards, and it's taking them on this journey of how to manage and deal with digital currency. And if they don't understand how it works, they can find themselves, like I said, in a lot of trouble. So a couple of years ago, I did a TikTok where I was sharing this statistic that says 32% of teens can't identify the difference between a credit card and a debit card. 32%. And so one person responded, they said, "I'm not shocked. At age 18, I went stupid over my first credit card. I didn't realize you got to pay it back. No one taught me." And so I am trying to make sure that that is not the story of our kids. That's not the story for your kids. Somebody is going to sit them down, and that's exactly what we're going to do, right? So I'm actually hosting a credit one-on-one workshop for teens specifically on next Thursday, August 7th. And so I'll share more about that as once we get to the Q&A section. All right. But it is a fact that people spend more, 2 to 3 times more when they're paying with a credit card than what they're paying with than if they are paying cash for something. And it has to do with this psychological connection between physical currency. When you have dollar bills, when you have 20s or hundreds, you can feel that money, you feel it going away, right? But when you have a credit card, you got 30 days before reality hits you and that statement comes and says, hey, now you owe what you borrowed, right? And so we want to make sure that our kids understand the differences and what they need to do to manage credit responsibly. So, if nothing else, using credit should teach our kids that they have to honor their obligations. We know debit cards are attached to our checking accounts or our savings accounts. Credit cards, they're like a loan. And this is the exact language you need to talk to your kids about. Credit cards are like a loan. And when you borrow something, guess what? You have to pay it back. You have to honor your obligations. And when you don't, there are consequences to doing that, right? So teaching them to charge only what they can afford, talking to them about limiting the number of credit cards. There's a trend right now on our college campuses where the kids are literally just applying for any and everything because they think it's a flex to have 10, 15 plus credit cards. And I'm like, no, that is not a flex. Let's talk about it. And the reason they think it's a flex is because they don't know how it works. They don't know the long-term consequences of how that can negatively impact them. And so that's why I'm here, to help them understand and to shut this foolishness down. All right. So our final money habit is to give generously, right? This is perhaps one of my most favorite money habits because we not only want to raise money savvy kids, we want to raise adults who have empathy, who have compassion, right? Who know that they're in order to that gratitude and giving comes back to them, is always reciprocated to them. And so one of the ways I talk to our young people about giving generously is through the 3 T's of giving. And that's giving through their time, through their talent, and through their treasure. And so here are just a few examples that you can implement. But before you do anything about giving or being generous, what I encourage as parents is to start talking to your kids about what are the things you give back to, right? Why do you give back to your alma mater? Why do you write a check every year to the Alzheimer's Association? So that they can hear those stories and hear the reasons that will really resonate and stick with them, right? And then you can ask them, all right, what are some things that you care about? And based off of the things that they care about, now you can say, okay, we're going to go volunteer this month. And I want you to put some input in it. What are some things you care about, some causes? What are things you enjoy doing where they will, because we don't want giving to feel like a sacrifice. It really is an honor, right? It really is an honor. And we want to turn not giving, not donating, not giving of our time. We don't want it to make it feel like punishment or a sacrifice, because there are so many things that we could be doing to make this world a better place, and everybody should feel good about it at the end of it. All right. So these are the topics we just talked about: work smart and be rewarded, save first and consistently, spend wisely and consciously, use credit responsibly, and give generously. Now, I just scraped the topics here, right? If you are not familiar with our book, Teach Your Child to Fish, I encourage you to grab a copy. At the end of every chapter, I give recommended activities that you can do with your kids, whether they, like I said, are 4, 12, 18 things that you can do to reinforce each of these money habits. And it's practical things that you can do, right? And so I do want to open it up for questions. And while we do that, I want to hear your feedback, right? So if you have your phone, you can take a picture of this QR code, and it should pull up the survey. And the survey is really just asking you, what would did you enjoy it? Would you like to hear more? What would you like to learn more about? So as I come in and do more of these sessions, more of these workshops, then you can let me know, right? So let me know what your thoughts. Feel free to fill out the survey. And I have an announcement. So the announcement is just more about our credit workshop. I'm going to grab that link and put it in the chat. But we have our credit 101 workshop, what every college bound teen should know about credit. This is going to be a great opportunity for them to learn about credit, get more in depth about what are some of the common pitfalls so that they can avoid them, right? And so I welcome you guys to participate with us. Let me just test this link because I just grabbed it and I want to make sure we are good to go. And then if you don't have it here, then you found out about tonight's workshop. Oh, I know what I did wrong. All right. You found out about tonight's workshop somehow. And so, of course, I'm going to be promoting this on my email list and making sure y'all are good there as well. All right. Let me try this way. Here we go. I just got it. All right. So I'm opening up for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And I also want to make sure you guys get once you fill out the survey, you'll also get a copy of our Money Talks guide. This is just a way for you guys to start conversations. It gives you some excellent prompts to start money conversations. They don't have to be awkward. We just have to get to it and make sure our kids are good. All right, I'm just trying to pull up this credit 101 workshop so I can drop this in the chat. Here we go. I got it. All right, perfect. All right, so I just dropped the link about our credit 101 workshop in the chat. And I do see a question. I see, what are your thoughts on having kids invest their money into stocks that they are interested in versus saving? I think you can do both, right? So I think you can absolutely do both. So one of the guides that I use when I talk to kids about money and how to allocate their money, how to allocate their spending, I teach them the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% goes towards their needs, 30% goes towards their wants, and 20% goes to their saving and investing. And I think it's perfectly fine for your kids to do both. I actually think it's healthy for them to do both, right? And then they can compare and contrast the two. So they can look at the money that they're saving and watch how much slower it's growing traditionally than when they invest their money. And I think that in itself is a good lesson and a good visualization for them to see. But explaining, you need the savings for short-term savings, right? And then the investing is more for long-term, because hopefully with the investing in stocks, you guys are holding them for a longer period of time and not, buying them one week and cashing them out the minute they, go up in value by $5 or $10, right? So talking to them about the difference and the different uses, right? Why you would want to have some savings for short term things, for things where the money is easily accessible, versus investing is for longer term, looking out into the future, and holding that there for your future self, right? So hopefully that was helpful. All right. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know. But I can always be reached. You can follow me across social media at the Master Playbook. And then I'm also just dropping in my email. So if there's something that pops up, something that you're interested in, and you want to reach out to me directly, feel free. You can just email me at holly@themasterplaybook.com. But I want to thank you guys. Thank you for jumping in on a Thursday evening. I really enjoyed speaking with you guys, and I look forward for us doing more together. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.